Hey guys, Dragonfyre here with my Banlist prediction video, seeing as how everyone's doing one, and we're about a week or so away from seeing the actual list. So I'll just get right into it. I also have some of my personal wish list on here, so it's kind of a prediction and wish list kind of video all in one. Anyway, starting off, as people both all want Super Rejuvenation and Spellbook of Judgment banned. Super Rejuve gives elemental dragons way too much plus power. You just discard the babies and then just laugh at your opponent as you draw 4 cards, which is usually what happens. Then you draw another one. Oh look, you draw another 4 cards. So it's kind of ridiculous. It had no use, really, until E-Dragons came out. Like, if the babies didn't come out, this card would not be seeing any play at all. Except for maybe Heretics, but even then. Anyway, Spellbook of Judgment's probably the most broken card, one of the most broken cards in existence. I don't know why they made this card. I don't know why they even bothered coming up with it. They could have made it a little less broken. Because it's just a ridiculous card. I mean, Secret Rare being rather expensive. Well, it's dropped in price, actually. It's time for it to go. It should not have been into the game at all. Spellbooks have way too much consistency. Essentially has 6 cards that search it. Banish it with Fate and then add it back to your hand with Eternity and you can use it again. It's insanely good. It's insanely good. It needs to be gone. And just Spellbooks need to be gone overall. Although even banning this card, it won't kill Spellbooks. I'm pretty sure someone could come up with a new spellbook deck that can run on only the regular cards, but even with the other ones I have. Next up is bringing this card back from the ban list, be Royal Oppression. I wasn't playing the game when this card existed, but even so, it seems like it's more of a control card to me. I've never actually used this card in a duel. I think it promotes more control decks for a slower formats. For example, Boojans could probably use this card extremely well, and even if E-Dragons survive the ban list, this card would be able to handle all the others. And it's a double-edged sword. If you can use it, you can use it. Your opponent can use it. There's no reason why you should want this card gone, unless you are absolutely afraid of your opponent just screwing you over, summoning everything they have, and then setting this card and then laughing at you when you can't do anything. Next up is another E-Dragon hit of Gold Sark. Basically, with any of the E-Dragons, this is an instant +1, and you get to add the E-Dragon a couple turns later. It's way too good. You open with a couple of these. You're tutoring your hand to exactly what you need. It's ridiculous, banishing a blaster and then getting a baby and then just going off like crazy. Next up, it's either one of these cards. I'd much prefer this one to be hit to one. Would be either Spellbook Condition of Prophecy or Spellbook of Secrets. Personally, I'd rather have this one hit because you can Veiler him. But Spellbook of Secrets searches every damn card in the deck, basically. Searches this piece of crap, searches power, searches everything needed to get the deck going. Putting this to one would really slow the deck down, and even if this card gets hit, this one won't. Or chances are it won't, so you'd still have a searcher in the deck. And just need to actually use some creativity to build the deck. But even so, limiting this won't kill spellbooks. If you are able to come up with your own build, you can do just fine with just one Spellbook of Secrets. Next up, I actually have 3 cards for Mermails, but ideally this is the one to get hit, Atlantean Dragoons. It's basically the main search of the deck, since most of the really high power ones are Sea Serpents, such as Megalo, Abyss Lead, and then Moving Glacia, although I'm not sure if people play that anymore. And also, it works with the OTKs with Atlantean Marksman. So no one likes being an OTK. This card is 1800. It's an instant search when it's sent sent to the graveyard. Just bad. Then I hate this card personally. I pulled a couple of them, both ultimate rare for some reason. But I've played against Mermails. First turn, they set a monster and then set a card. Their set back row being this card. I MST, thinking it's a Bottomless or something. Nope, it's an Abysssphere. They chain it, go for Linde, then they have a Megalo or use this guy, Abyss Pike, which is my next choice of cards to be hit. Abyss Pike works with Abysssphere. When it's normal special summon, just ditch a water monster, and then you can add another one. So you can add infantry, marksman, Linde. Let's get your searches going. Then when you send, you can send this guy or infantry marksman to destroy cards. Now for the next one, people are saying to hit Ophion over this card, but I'm saying this is the problem card. It's Infestation Pandemic. Because I think everyone hates having Evil Swarms played against them and having two Pandemics in their hand. Having two Pandemics to have with access. Having two... Try to fix my words. Having Pandemics to use. It's a pain in the ass, especially if you already have one in your hand. Like if they go for rabbits, rabbits effect for Heliotrope, you try to Bottomless both of them. If they have a Pandemic in hand, you are basically screwed because they're about to go for an Ophion and get another Pandemic for your turn. So instead of hitting Ophion, which is still a rather good card, I think hitting this one would be slightly better because then you have a better chance of actually taking care of Ophion. Despite searching it, I'd be more... I can handle Ophion. If this card didn't exist, it'd be easier to handle. Next, some more limited, but we're going down here. Since Judgment of the Light has introduction of Synchro monsters, I'm thinking that Konami's going to be bringing back one of these two banned Synchros. I'm hoping it's Trishula, but I'm trying to get my hands on one just in case, because you never know. Because Konami brought this SOB back, so you never know. Trishula needs 3 monsters to summon, just removes 3 cards from your opponents. So. And how many decks can actually use it nowadays that aren't severely hit by the ban list? Bringing back one of the most powerful synchros in the game that's not absolutely broken would definitely promote the use of synchro decks. Ergo, people would buy Judgment of the Light packs and in the future Shadow Specters because of all the synchros in there and gets more and more use out of them. But I'd be fine with either Trishula or Goyo Guardian coming back. I also want to limit Big Eye to 1. Even banning him would be fine. This card pisses me off to no end. It's a monster stealer, which is... No one likes monster stealers. Monster stealers with basically no cost. And in E-Dragons, this is basically no cost to summon. It is that insane. Like, this card was worth almost nothing until E-Dragons and Mermails were suddenly like, hey, we can summon this card. So yeah, with Change of Heart is basically the same. You can do whatever you want with the card. So Brain Control, also similar, but it's restricted to face-ups. But Mind Control, that could also be banned, but I'm not sure. I'd be fine with Mind Control staying. I use it. But Dragosack, there's no reason for this card to be hit. Maybe the 2, but this is not the problem card. The problem card is the problem is E-Dragons. If this card was not as easy to summon, it would not be a problem. If this card was 2 level 7 machines, I don't think it'd be that big of a deal, because for level 7 machines you have the Mecha Phantom Beasts, and then you also have Machina Fortress, but I think most people would rather have 2 Fortresses on the field than 1 Dragosack. It's quite a few, but how many people are going to use? I don't know. Yeah, this is basically the main one. And Bray, but well, people do use this with Big Eye, but yeah, Dragosack's not the problem. Dragosack is not the problem. It's the E-Dragon deck that makes it the problem. This card was built for Mecha Phantom Beasts. Mecha Phantom Beasts can get this card out rather easily, but still, it takes a lot more resources, and it's very difficult to do it first turn. I know for a fact because I play Mecha Phantom Beasts. Now on to the semi-limits. First up is Gladiator Beast Bestiary. I think having Glad Beast come back would be a better control, because without a doubt, Gladiator Beast is one of the best. Is a really damn good control deck. It has some strong monsters. It has a really unique aspect of tagging out for effects. If you can't get those tags, if you can't get the tags off, you don't get any effects. Yeah, I think it'd just be a good boost, because I don't think Bestiary is a problem. I think it was Gizaris that's the problem. But with cards like Starlight Road Huge Revolution is over, and all that, Gizaris isn't as big of a worry, especially if I have one of those cards. Next up is Mizuki. I'm iffy on this card. I originally wanted it to come back because I think giving zombies a boost, especially with the vampire archetype coming out in Shadow Specters, it would give the deck a decent boost. However, playing playing an Xyz zombie deck makes me realize that if this card is at 2, the deck becomes absolutely ridiculous. Especially with Burial from a different dimension. Just banishes 2 Mizukis, gets 2 special summons. Use Burial, use the Mizukis again. So, if this card stayed at 1, I'd be fine. If it went to 2, that'd be fine. We might actually see some zombie decks start at the top. Next up is Striker. This is one of the cards that people just want to be back to 2, because no one really thinks this card should be at 2. Because let's face it, agents, no one uses them. But what am I going to say about this one? But yeah, I think it'd just be a decent card to bring back, especially since it's a good tuner monster. No one, unless you're playing TGs, there's no reason to resolve add TG to your deck. If you're going second, just special summon this, and then you can basically synchro summon right away. Next up, I'm a Blackwing player, so I'd rather have this card than Gale to 2, and I want Black Whirlwind to 2. I'd rather have this card than Gale, because Gale has the halving attack and defense, which is a really good effect, and if you can recycle that ability by returning it to your hand, and it's more than once per turn. Gale is more broken than Black Whirlwind, because this one is only normal summoned to your side of the field. If this card was normal summoned onto the field, so it would include your opponent's monsters, it'd be good. If it was special summoned, I'd understand if it was for it to be at 1, or adding any Blackwing with more, or even the same attack. I understand it being at 2. However, at 1, understand it being at 1. But with this, I think it makes more sense of being at 2 because it's more limited. You can't summon a Blizzard and then add whatever you want. It's limited. It limits your options with that adding with less attack. So your best option is Shura. And then that tutors most of the deck. Sirocco tutors the rest of it. And what's interesting enough, the Blackwing has to stay on the field in order to resolve this effect, because it depends on its attack when it's on the field. If it's not on the field, you don't know its attack, so you can't add the monster to your hand. So if they bottomless your Shura, you're not getting an add. It's just the way it is. People want this card to 1. I'm thinking it'd be fine at 2. It's Fire Formation, tanky. With Rooster being released, Fire Fist and the new Banlist coming up, Fire Fist can probably take over the format along with Bujins. People want this card to 1 because it searches basically everything in the entire deck. I'm thinking it should go to 2 because it can be stopped by cards like MST and Dust Tornado. Basically, if that happens, they're stopping your tanky. If you activate it, they MST it, your tanky's done. Your deck is forced to stop right there, and there's not a whole lot you can do about it. I think if they came out, if semi-limiting this card, would probably promote using other fire formation cards, so that there's a little more originality. I mean, Bear's still good, but yeah, since this card is splashable in quite a few decks, even Bujins, I don't think this card is going to get hit because it works in Bujins. This card is almost worthless. It's not worth a whole lot. So I'm not sure if this card will get hit. I doubt it because I don't think Konami's done with Fire Fists. And Bujins can use this card, and Konami's definitely not done with Bujins until the end of Shadow Specters. Next up, bringing this card back to 2. Solemn Warning was only hit to promote a little bit of a faster format. I think we need to slow down after having E-Dragons, Spellbooks, Mermails, Evil Swarms take over the formats. Having Solemn Warning makes it so that people need to think about their plays a lot more. Like, if you suddenly put in a ton of resources and they use a Solemn Warning, well, right as it is with 1, you use Solemn Warning, they're suddenly like, oh, now I can go in all in more because I don't have to worry about a Solemn Warning. With 2 Solemn Warnings, if they use 1, you still have to think that there's another Solemn Warning somewhere in the deck that you need to worry about. It adds a little more, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. Anyway, I'd like to see Solemn Warning back to 2. I think it'd just be good for the game. Next up, Wind Up Factory to 2, but only in one condition. Magician goes to 2. Wind Up Factory, I think, is more of a problem card than Magician. Yes, Magician special summons the entire deck, but Magician can be Veilered. And if you try to activate the effect and you max C, you're basically forced to stop unless you want your opponent to go extremely plus. Wind Up Factory is a better version of Black Whirlwind, because it's whenever a Wind Up effect is activated at any point. It includes Shark's effect in the hand. So it just, even with Wind Up Rabbit, you can keep using the effect over and over again, basically adding cards to your hand, adding more wind-ups to your hand to get you set up for your huge plays. Even if you have more than one rabbit can get you 2 cards. That can give you a couple sharks or a shark and a magician for an enormous play during your next turn. Next up, cards to 3. Pot of Duality. I think this card is this past format has made this card seem kind of slow. I haven't seen all that many decks actually run this card. I've used it in a couple, but only 1 copy, because, well, I've played 2 dualities in decks, and more often than not, I duality into a duality, which is annoying. This card is good, but it's kind of slow. I think with the next pot card coming out, Avarice will be hit, but that's not going to be until next format at least. Next up, Thunder King Ryo. Put him back to 3. He's in the same class as Solemn Warning. He's more control. Basically, you summon him against certain decks, you are in control of the duel, unless they are able to get rid of it in some way. There are ways around it, such as Photon Thrasher and Cyber Dragon, or just crashing over it with 1900 Beater. So just, if you can play smart around Thunder King, it's not that big of a deal. Besides, 800 defense. You Book of Moonlit or use this next card, you can get over it no problem. Anyway, next. Don't know. I think Konami is wondering why this card was even banned in the first place. Well, okay, not wondering why it was banned, but why didn't they just put it back to 3 right away? Because I don't think no one's been using this card at all. It has a Book of Moon effect, but it uses up your normal summon. With most decks, that normal summon is extremely valuable. You don't want to waste it on a Spirit Monster that's going to go back to your hand, unless you're able to special summon more after it. Well, it's a spellcaster, so you can summon Inari Fire, but that's a whole other story. Anyway, that's my main list. Now here's my little wish list. To hit dragons a little more, I would like to see at least 2 of these hit to 2. I prefer Redox and Blaster, but any of the 2 would help, because these cards aren't just good in their deck, they're good in every deck that can use their attribute. So they're easily splashable, and even killing the Dragon Ruler deck wouldn't kill the cards themselves. They'd just be used in other decks. Like Blaster would go to Laval's. Tempest would go to Dragoon in these. Tidal would go to Mermails. Redox would go to Georgias, Madolches, etc. I don't know why they brought this guy back at all, but he hasn't made a huge impact on the format, which is why he's on my wish list of cards to get hit. I do not like Blackluster Soldier. Even using him, he feels really unfair. Just summoning him, and it's like, oh, you're suddenly ahead of the game. Unless they're able to bottomless you or use the one Solemn Warning in their deck. But if they have Solemn Warning, they're going to use it on this, because no one likes being on the receiving end of a Blackluster Soldier. Although, pardon me, with the Envoy of the Twilight coming out, I'm not sure if this card will get hit or not, or they'll just ban it, so you're basically forced to use Envoy of the Twilight, which completely sucks. Looks awesome, but it sucks. People might call me butthurt, but I do not like Madolche Queen Tiramisu. I don't like the fact that this card does not target. I do not like the fact that it's just so easy to summon Madolches. Like, oh, by the way, here's two Tiramisu's, 4 of your cards go back to your deck. Then they OTK you. I think this is more of a problem card. I think because Ticket, I don't think Ticket needs to get hit. I think this card would need to get hit, but since Madolches don't top, chances are it's not going to happen. Next up is Glow Up Bulb to 1. People say that E-Dragons will use this. If E-Dragons get hit enough, they're not going to have much of a deck to use this card in. It's a really good tuner, and just being able to summon it easily from your graveyard, get into your graveyard and just summon it. Then you have basically instant synchro, and it's a way to promote more tuner. It's a way to promote synchros. So, like bringing back Trishula or Goyo is to sell more product. Although, not exactly the easiest card to get your hands on, but still, I think if this card came back, people would rejoice and play Plants a little more. Next up is Gale the Whirlwind. People want this card. I've seen this card requested to go to 2 more than Black Whirlwind. I'd be fine with this going to 2, obviously, because Gale the Whirlwind is still an amazing card. But if they don't bring Black Whirlwind back, I really want this card back to 2. But again, never played with Gale at 3, so I don't exactly know how that would work. Next up, from the last card, I'd like Rekindling to be limited or semi-limited. I do not like Flavals. I don't like Fire Kings either, but that's another story. It's a Monster Reborn on steroids. People have a problem with Monster Reborn. Why not have this card hits? It's Quasar. Just because people don't play Lavals doesn't mean this card is not worthy of hitting the ban list. I don't like being on the receiving end of this card, especially double Rekindling, in which case they just go crazy. Hit you with a Quasar or Stardust and just laugh, as you can't do anything, and they OTK you. Yeah, anyway, this is my ban list video. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'm going to probably start posting some duels later tonight, and just keep going through the rest of the weekend. But anyway, talk to you guys later, and see you around.